This program lineup is brought to you by Vision Express.
KUAM News headlines are presented by Calvo's Insurance, protecting Micronesia for 85 years. Matson and the Adai Ito. And McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime.
A substitute bill, a separate proposal, and one final vote. I'm Nevaeh Anderson with why some local physicians say two ideas to expand Guam's healthcare workforce were combined without proper public discussion.
And I'm Mitsuki Hirayama with the interview with GVB's president and CEO. We sit down to talk about how the soaring fuel prices is putting pressure on tourism recovery.
From colorful eggs to big smiles, see how one Easter tradition brought the community together. I'm Jonagan Charfres, and coming up, more from Department of Parks and Recreation's exciting event.
Half the day and good evening. Welcome to KUAM News Primetime. I'm Destiny Cruz-Lingus. Thanks for ending your day with us. A major healthcare bill is drawing pushback, not just for its impact, but how it was passed. Lawmakers approved a substitute version of Bill 206 by Senator Tello Taidagui that pulls in key pieces of a separate measure from Governor Lou Leon Guerrero. Now, members of Guam's medical community say those last-minute changes deserved a public hearing. Nevaeh Anderson has the details.
At its core, Bill 206 by Senator Tello Taidagui is about access, expanding Guam's healthcare workforce by making it easier for foreign medical graduates, or FMGs, to become fully licensed and practice across Guam's public and private healthcare systems. But before final votes, the bill had expanded. Senator Taidagui introduced a substitute version of her bill, adding a second pathway for internationally trained physicians, or ITPs. That pathway closely mirrors language from Bill 294, a separate measure from Governor Lou Leon Guerrero, creating a limited licensure track that allows doctors to begin practicing sooner without completing the full traditional U.S. licensing pathway, but only within government facilities, such as the Guam Memorial Hospital, Department of Public Health and Social Services, and community health centers. Together, the bill now creates two tracks, one for full licensure in both public and private care, and one limited track designed to quickly address shortages in government health care. The bill passed. But after the vote, Health Committee Chair Senator Sabrina Salas Matanani says her office was flooded with concerns from physicians, many saying they had not seen the substitute version until the day of the vote and weren't given any opportunity to provide input. She called for the bill to be pulled from voting so a public hearing could be held to allow for proper review, but it moved forward. And Dr. Thomas Shea is among those physicians speaking out against its passage, filing a FOIA request to senators seeking more transparency into how the final version was developed. He says he's not against recruiting international doctors, but against how this version of Bill 206 came together.
We testified for Bill 206, and then Bill 294 was introduced after that. Never had a public hearing, and then only on the session floor they injected Bill 294 into the bill. This is so corrupt. The government cannot do that, and we cannot just tell the people you basically have no say. That is wrong. You have to have an open government, a transparent government, and not handle things behind closed doors.
He says the substitute version could also leave out patients seeking care in the private sector.
Now, we are not opposed to internationally trained physicians as long as they qualify, but we think that because of the bill, the way it's structured, it should be for the entire island to have access to international physicians.
And Dr. Shea argues in a healthcare system where public and private providers often share the load, at its core, Bill 206 by Senator Tello Taidagui is about access, expanding Guam's healthcare workforce by making it easier for foreign medical graduates, or FMGs, to become fully licensed and practice across Guam's public and private healthcare systems. But before final votes, the bill had expanded. Senator Taidagui introduced a substitute version of her bill, adding a second pathway for internationally trained physicians, or ITPs. That pathway closely mirrors language from Bill 294, a separate measure from Governor Lou Leon Guerrero, creating a limited licensure track that allows doctors to begin practicing sooner without completing the full traditional U.S. licensing pathway, but only within government facilities, such as the Guam Memorial Hospital, Department of Public Health and Social Services, and community health centers. Together, the bill now creates two tracks, one for full licensure in both public and private care, and one limited track designed to quickly address shortages in government health care.
On the issue of germaneness, this substitute is fully germane. The subject of the bill remains physicians' licensures under Title X. Every provision stays within the same article and chapter, under the same statutory framework, and under the same licensing authority, the Guam Board of Medical Examiners.
The bill passed. But after the vote, Health Committee Chair Senator Sabrina Salas-Matanani says her office was flooded with concerns from physicians, many saying they had not seen the substitute version until the day of the vote and weren't given any opportunity to provide input. She called for the bill to be pulled from voting so a public hearing could be held to allow for proper review, but it moved forward. And Dr. Thomas Shea is among those physicians speaking out against its passage, filing a FOIA request to senators seeking more transparency into how the final version was developed. He says he's not against recruiting international doctors, but against how this version of Bill 206 came together.
We testified for Bill 206, and then Bill 294 was introduced after that. Never had a public hearing, and then only on the session floor they injected Bill 294 into the bill. This is so corrupt. The government cannot do that, and we cannot just tell the people you basically have no say. That is wrong. You have to have an open government, a transparent government, and not handle things behind closed doors.
He says this substitute version could also leave out patients seeking care in the private sector.
Now, we are not opposed to internationally trained physicians as long as they qualify, but we think that because of the bill, the way it's structured, it should be for the entire island to have access to international physicians.
And Dr. Shea argues in a healthcare system where public and private providers often share the load, this new system could create gaps rather than close them.
The whole point of the entire island is that healthcare-wise, that we take care of the entire population altogether. Many of the private clinics, we take care of a lot of the indigent patients too.
Supporters, however, say the targeted approach is intentional, focusing resources where the need is most urgent. The bill now on the governor's desk, stakeholders wait in anticipation for her decision. Nevaeh Anderson, KUAM News.
A short-lived relief at the pump for Guam. Well, prices at the pump surged for the sixth time in March on Tuesday evening, with diesel now more than $9 a gallon. Last week, the cost of gas dropped twice for the first time since the Middle East conflict began on February 28th, dipping a total of 30 cents. As of March 31st, prices posted at mobile stations show regular gas at $6.22, premium at $6.61, and diesel at a record $9.09 per gallon. Drivers are now paying about $1.35 more per gallon for gasoline and $3.75 more per gallon for diesel since the U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran. Well, after 55 years of welcoming the world, the doors at Galleria by DFS Guam are now closed, leaving behind more than just empty shelves, but a legacy filled with memories, milestones, and generations of families who called it work and a second home.
It's the end of an era in the heart of Tumon. After 55 years, T Galleria by DFS Guam closed its doors Tuesday, marking the end of a landmark that helped define Guam's tourism industry. For decades, the luxury duty-free retailer welcomed visitors from around the world, becoming more than just a shopping destination, but a symbol of Guam's global connection. The company announced its exit last December, gradually winding down operations and clearing its shelves in the final months. But behind the brand are the people. More than 100 employees are now impacted, including many who dedicated years, some decades of service. Tuesday evening, the community gathered for a final farewell wave, lighting the street one last time to honor the memories made inside those doors. At 7 p.m., the lights went out, closing a chapter that helped shape Tumon as we know it.
Love you guys!
And in other news this morning, families filled the Dedido Sports Complex as the Department of Parks and Recreation, alongside McDonald's, kicked off Easter with a tradition that brought pure joy to hundreds of kids. From the first whistle, little feet dashed across the field, eyes locked on brightly colored treasures, all hoping to be the one to find the golden egg. Our Jonah Gancharfaris was there right in the heart of the fun, where the excitement was as big as the smiles.
The sun showed up right on cue, setting the stage for a morning filled with color, laughter, and thousands of hidden treasures. The Department of Parks and Recreation, teaming up with McDonald's, turned the Dededo Sports Complex into an Easter playground, packed with families ready for the hunt. DPR Director Angel Tablan says this event just keeps growing.
Every year it gets bigger. Last year I think it was 6,000 eggs. This year it's 9,000 eggs. And I know that last year it was gone in seconds. This year, maybe a couple more seconds and you'll be gone.
And fun was everywhere, from face painting to games to sweet treats waiting inside the gym.
Come back here to the gym and claim your prize, get your drinks, get your ice cream, get the things that different organizations are here to give away and to display. There's even games, there's kiddie rides that the kids can enjoy. So yes, it's a whole celebration.
Inside, balloon animals. Characters like Clifford the Big Red Dog, Chase from Park Police, and even the Easter Bunny, drawing in excited crowds. But outside, the real action was brewing. Little hands clutching baskets, feet ready to sprint, and eyes locked on one thing, the eggs. And for many, the ultimate goal, the golden egg. McDonald's Joseph Azuzu Jr. says it's about more than just the prizes.
And that's what makes events like this so special. It's not just about finding eggs, it's about bringing our community together and creating memories and seeing all these smiling faces.
And when the whistle blew, it was a dash across the field as kids scooped up eggs in a matter of seconds. Among the crowd, Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio joining families for the celebration.
This is a time to really be grateful for what we have and to look out for our friends and family, spend some extra time together and make the most of it. Make the most of your time together. Happy Easter.
And as quickly as the eggs were found, the memories were made. A morning filled with joy, community, and a little bit of Easter magic.
Here on Guam, every day is a beautiful day. And when we get kids like this and you see the smiles on their faces, bringing their Easter baskets, bringing their parents along with them, what else can you think of? What happens? So we wish Guam a very happy Easter.
Jonagan Charfris, KUAM News.
And in education news, a number of education bills are up for a public hearing Thursday at the Guam Congress Building. All three are aimed at increasing the cap on charter schools from 7 to 8. Bill 252 aims to advance career and technical education through partnership with the Guam Community College, as Bill 256 seeks to advance tourism and hospitality career and technical education. And finally, Bill 264 aims to advance early intervention and inclusive education. The Committee on Education is set to hear testimonies on the legislation at 2 p.m. KUAM will have full coverage on all three measures later on primetime. Time for a quick break. You're watching KUAM.
Let's go to Grandma's.
Oh man.
The only thing slower than her internet is her stories.
Yeah, last time my video loaded, I aged 1 year. Is that? No way. Woo! Awesome.
Grandma, your internet slaps.
Sign up for GTA Fiber today and get grandkid approved internet for as low as $75 a month.
Hey, let's go.
Oh man.
Good luck going after our fans. We have a Huntrix meal at McDonald's.
You mean the Saja Boys breakfast meal?
Ours has Ramyun McShaker fries.
Ours has hash browns.
Hash browns.
Zoe!
It's a battle for the fans.
We love you! What?
Now at McDonald's. Pick a meal.
To pick a side. Don't fight. Kiss.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Welcome to the world, Mila. A world where you'll feel loved and cared for, not just by your family, but by your extended family, your community. That's the power of relationships. At Bank of Hawaii, we've believed in that power to build better lives for our customers and communities for over 125 years. So when you need people who will look out for you, look to us. Because with the right relationship,
Anything's possible.
reach your possible with Bank of Hawaii.
President Trump is calling on other U.S. allies to do more to secure the Strait of Hormuz in Iran. And during an Oval Office event Tuesday afternoon, the president told reporters his administration is still negotiating with Iran to end the war. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says that the upcoming days in the conflict will be decisive.
Video posted on social media shows explosions overnight in Iran near Isfahan, a city with major military targets and one of the country's nuclear sites.
We're negotiating with them right now. They've been, again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finishing the job, and I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the last 24 hours saw the lowest number of missiles and drones fired by Iran, but the regime continues to retaliate. This Kuwaiti oil tanker was struck off the coast of Dubai, and Iran retains its grip over the Strait of Hormuz.
We all agree that the Strait of Hormuz has to be opened, and it's a priority. Iran cannot have a veto over the Middle East energy flows.
But as European allies call for de-escalation, President Trump criticized them on social media, saying they should go and take the strait and oil for themselves, adding the USA won't be there to help you anymore.
In a phone call with CBS News, President Trump expressed his frustration other countries aren't doing more to secure the strait, but said the U.S. is not pulling assets yet. He was also asked whether victory could be declared without removing Iran's enriched uranium.
The president replied, "It's so deeply buried, it's pretty safe, but we'll make a determination."
We're not going to foreclose any option. You can't fight and win a war if you tell your adversary what you are willing to do or what you are not willing to do.
According to state media, Iran threatened to strike U.S. tech and defense companies in the region starting Wednesday, naming Apple, Google, and Boeing, among others. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Honoring culture, community, and compassion, Senator Shelley Calvo and Senator Sabina Perez recognized two groups making lasting impacts on Guam. First, a celebration of culture, and the next generation keeping it alive. Estumbo Middle School received a certificate of recognition after earning first place in the middle school division for Kanta Lalay and Baila at this year's Inat Saigan Finut Samoru cultural competition. The 22 students, alongside their cultural arts teachers, were commended for their performance and for strengthening Chamorro language and identity through the arts.
When you sing, when you chant, when you dance, you are doing more than just performing. You are carrying forward the voices of our island's ancestors, Guam's ancestors. You are keeping the language alive, and you are reminding all of us that the strength of Guam's identity lies in the next generation.
Senator Calvo also recognizing all participating schools, saying the competition is about more than winning, but a shared commitment to preserving Chamorro heritage. Senator Sabina Perez adding that effort starts at home.
Because part of our culture is family, right? We have to work as a family, as a collective. And so to stay rooted in your culture is going to serve you a long way in your lifetime. And never forget where you're from.
Teachers, the win isn't just the trophy.
I know that the kids worked really hard for the competition, and winning first place was great, but besides that, I think what they learned most was the camaraderie, coming together and expressing themselves through song, dance, and chant. So, Sizus Masi for recognizing that.
And from culture to compassion in action, lawmakers also honored Guam animals in need or gain and the SNP clinic for their work protecting the island's most vulnerable animals. GAIN was recognized for providing shelter, care, and second chances, while also educating the community on responsible pet ownership.
GAIN has long been more than a shelter. It is a place of care, of second chances, and of quiet, everyday compassion. Through their commitment to providing sanctuary for animals, they remind us that how we treat the most vulnerable amongst us reflects the values we choose to uphold.
Also highlighted the SNP Clinic, Guam's first large-scale spay and neuter program. In just 4 years, they have treated more than 10,000 animals, creating a more sustainable approach to animal population control and management, reducing animal suffering, preventing overpopulation, and improving the overall well-being for our communities. But organizers say none of it happens without community support.
As much as GAIN and SNP exists and we do our work, it involves the community as well. And the fact that the community is showing up and doing their part, it just says that, like you mentioned, this speaks to our community and the community's values. We love our people and we love our animals, our fur babies, and we want to be able to take care of that.
So whether it's keeping our language alive or giving animals a second chance, those honorees show what's possible when a community leads with heart. In other news, a rare tree returning home at the Atentano Heritage Preserve, a major step for conservation, is taking root. The University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability and Sea Grant, alongside local and federal partners, hosting an outplanting event to restore the critically endangered Cereanthes nesselini. Known locally as Hadzan Lagu, this native tree once thrived across southern Guam, but today only a handful remain in the wild. Seedlings grown with support from Rota Forestry are now being reintroduced with protective cages installed to defend against pests. Project leaders say long-term success will depend on continued monitoring and strong community partnerships. Lawmaker Sabina Perez also joined the planting, calling the tree a, quote, plancestor, symbolizing roots, origins, and cultural connection. UOG teams say more native species will be reintroduced in the months ahead as efforts continue to restore Guam's natural heritage. An evening of music, togetherness, and remembrance. Mount Carmel School putting on its Kansan Chamarita Courtyard concert Tuesday. As Matsumoto came to a close, Mount Carmel students and the Phoenix Stage Band put on an unforgettable show. But it was more than just performances and about the concert, as the school paid tribute to Juan G. Camacho, better known as Mr. C or Flight. Mr. C proudly dedicated himself to serving Mount Carmel as the facilities and maintenance manager for over 30 years and will surely be missed by the community. Here's a look at last night's tribute. Extend our sincerest condolences to Mr. C's loved ones and the MCS family. Guam's next generation of innovators took center stage at the SIFA First Lego League Regional Championship. Held at the Tumon Sands Plaza, 24 teams of elementary and middle school students put their skills to the test in robotics, engineering, and problem solving, competing in events like robot design, innovation projects, and robot games. Students tackled real-world challenges under this year's theme, Unearthed, taking top honors the Komodo Dragons from Astumbo Middle School, followed by the excavators, also from Astumbo. The Komodo Dragons also posted the day's highest robot game score, 280 points. The event drew hundreds, highlighting a growing passion for STEM and a promising future for Guam's tech-driven workforce. The impressive culinary skills of Guam Department of Education students were on full display during Sodexo's Future Chefs Challenge held at John F. Kennedy High School Tuesday. Fourth grader at Laguan Elementary School, Hershon Steven, took home first place with his lasagna dish, which will be adapted into a healthier and school-friendly recipe featured across GDOE schools. Coming in second place was fifth grader from Weddingale Elementary, Makoa Malat's spaghetti and meatballs dish, and in third, fellow fifth grader at Weddingale Elementary, Haley Ray Blas's chicken penang. The Future Chefs Challenge is an initiative designed to promote healthy eating habits while encouraging creativity, confidence, and engagement in the kitchen. Elementary students from across the island were able to show off their skills by preparing unique and nutritious dishes inspired by both local and international flavors. Students were judged on creativity, presentation, nutritional value, and overall taste, showcasing both their culinary abilities and their understanding of balanced and healthy meals. Great job to all the winners and all those who participated.
Now for a look at your world at home.
Here's a view of Laddie Stone, located at Angel Santos Memorial Park.
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around. Whoa. You can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
Spring is here, and it's blooming with savings at Kmart Guam. Step into the season with fresh styles for the whole family. Tackle your spring to-do list with tools for every project. Get everything you need to be spring ready. Find it all this season at Kmart Guam.
Tonight's sports feature is brought to you by Cars Plus.
Wesley kicks out. Simon, big three. Oh, baby! Checks out Simon, big three. Oh, baby!
Something happens when you put crispy, all-white meat chicken nuggets inside a Crunchwrap slider with your choice of sauce inside. What happens is, probably ordering one of each. The new Crispy Chicken Crunchwrap Slider, a brand new classic, only at Taco Bell.
Freedom, that's a cheap thing. Freedom to ignore this, that's a cheap thing. Sacrificing facial hair to nature and involuntary blood donations, cheap things. No one signs up for an 800-pound bear chase, but if it happens, cheap thing. VIP parking, exfoliating, treating gravity like a suggestion, saying, it'll dry. Free-range parenting, forgetting if that's a moose or an elk, all cheap things. Remembering without saying it, couldn't be more of a cheap thing. Sweating your tail off, freezing your tail off, an American saving another American's tail. Cheap things. Making a cheap vehicle for only people with cash like him? Not a cheap thing. Or confusing capability with unaffordability? No, not a cheap thing. Making adventure affordable? Now that's a cheap thing. So we're bringing you more cheap things this year, because cheap things should be everyone's thing.
News Bites is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Better Together, Fresco Clothing, original custom design apparel of Guam and the Marianas.
Half a day, everyone. This is Janice Carrasco. Thank you for accompanying us at News Bites. Let's see what we got going on. The National Association of Women in Construction has worked nationally, to achieve its goals of reaching the next generation of construction workers. To support reaching the next generation, NAWIC Education Foundation has created the Block Kids program. The Block Kids program introduces children to the construction industry in an effort to create an awareness of and to promote an interest in future careers in one of the many facets of the industry. During a Block Kids competition, the participants have 40 minutes to an hour to construct a project using approved building blocks and materials. The competition is open to all 5 to 6 students. All right, next up. On April 4th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., check out the Mad Hatter's Extravaganza at the Agana Shopping Center. Enjoy bounce house, photo booth, face painting, and balloon art. The Easter egg hunt for ages 0 to 10 years old. 2 p.m. is go time, and kids 11 years old and above, 3 p.m. is go time. Participants must visit the registration booth prior to the egg hunt. Win big prizes and free to enjoy. Sounds like fun. All right, guys, lastly, here we go. The Dededo Mayor's Office and Dededo Municipal Planning Council presents their Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 4th at Lencho Park at 10 a.m. There will be prizes, treats, and fun. Free for ages 1 through 10 years old. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Thank you for accompanying us today here at News Bites. Have a lovely rest of your evening.
All right, it's that time of day, everybody's favorite time of the day. It is birthday shout-outs. Woohoo! Let's go! And love mom and dad. Happy belated birthday to Park Police Chief Joey Terlahi. Next up, we have our lovely governor, Lulian Guerrero. Happy birthday to our Maga Haga. Many blessings from KUAM. Eric Bamba. Happy birthday, Eric. Hope it's a great one. Jamin Diaz. Happy belated birthday. Wishing you another amazing year of life. Love your family and friends. Charlene Guerrero Goulet. Happy birthday to my beautiful soul and wonderful daughter. We love and miss you plenty. Sending hugs from Guam. And from all of us here at KUAM, we wish you many, many blessings, lots of cake, and a wonderful rest of your day. Happy birthday.
Want to wish your special someone a happy birthday? Just click the QR code here on your screen or email birthdayclub@kuam.com.
Now don't go anywhere, because coming up next we have the latest installment of The Interview. Tonight, Mitsuki Hirayama sits down with Guam Visitors Bureau President and CEO Regine Bisco Lee on how the soaring fuel cost is putting tourism recovery under pressure.
Now, for a limited time, get our largest pizza at our lowest price. Just $9.99 for our classic New York-style pizza. It's 30% larger than our large, and at only $9.99 for carryout. Don't wait. Order now at your Island Pizza Hut.
GU Self-Storage, located in Harmon next to McDonald's, offers a variety of storage units. With rates starting as low as $95 per month, we offer complimentary use of dollies, push carts, Plines hand trucks, and pallet jack, with a fully covered loading and unloading areas and ADA accessible units. We offer 24-hour CCTV surveillance monitoring, alarm, and individual pin-coded gate and door access, because your safety is our priority. GU Self-Storage, voted Pika's Best in 2024. Call 671-648-7867 today.
Hafade, I'm Mitsuki Hirayama. Welcome to another edition of The Interview, where we dive deep into complex issues that matter to our community. And tonight we're taking a closer look at how the global fuel prices tied to the Middle East conflict is impacting tourism recovery here on Guam. And of course, joining us tonight is Regine Biscoli. She's the president and CEO of the Guam's Visitors Bureau. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely, Mitsuki. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And first things first, I do want to note that gas prices here on Guam did surge again overnight. And this is the sixth time in 1 month, actually, that prices have rose. And now diesel is actually over $9 a gallon. And yesterday during your GVB membership meeting, you kind of touched on this and how it's affecting flights here in Guam. What are you hearing from airlines regarding this?
So the bottom line up front really is that airlines are reducing capacity. They're cutting back on capacity as the fuel, jet fuel prices start to rise, and they're really spiking globally. So this is something that is affecting not just Guam, but it's really affecting, you know, our region and the world because of the Iran conflict. And so what we're seeing is that the first thing typically that happens is when you think about jet fuel, that accounts for about 20 to 30% of the airline's overhead costs. And their operating costs rather. And so the first thing that they will do is they pull that lever and they, you know, start to play around with just the different routes that they have under their control. And so when you have this kind of volatility in the market and there's a lot of uncertainty that's going on, they're making decisions based on, you know, which routes are the most profitable, but also, you know, in terms of the scale, right? And so sometimes what will happen is airlines will decide to favor, you know, larger or higher yield destinations. So smaller destinations like Guam are on kind of the short end of the stick. And so you'll see, you know, maybe some low cost carriers start to reduce their capacity, and that is a tremendous impact on our island where every single seat counts. And so that's, when you think about it in total, fewer seats means fewer visitors. And so that's the challenge that we're trying to address today.
Right, and I remember yesterday you did say access to Guam is under pressure, and as you mentioned, we're already starting to see the impacts. You also mentioned that GVB does have a plan though, and you guys will execute it. Can you share a little bit more on what that plan looks like?
Yeah, so, you know, fortunately, yesterday was our quarterly membership meeting, so we had an opportunity to address all the GVB members. Members of the legislature were there, as well as our governor and lieutenant governor. But in terms of our plan is really threefold. We're thinking about, or we're executing on protecting airlift, increasing or incentivizing our routes, and then also driving that demand and ensuring that, you know, folks are interested, aware of Guam, and have that desire to come here. And so when I think about the plan, it's really focused on one priority, and that's protecting air access. So doing everything that we can to maybe shift some of our resources to make sure that we are, you know, providing additional performance-based incentives. And so when you're thinking about investing, you want to make sure that that's tied to measurable outcomes of increased seats and increased arrivals. We're not just giving this money out for free. You know, we're very cautious about the way that we spend. We want to make sure, you know, we have very limited resources, so we want to make sure that those incentives give us the most bang for our buck.
Right, and I do want to note, yesterday at that meeting, the Lieutenant Governor did make some comments regarding this. He said now is the time to be very bold, and he brought up how Japanese and Korean visitors do visit frequently to the Middle East, particularly Dubai, which of course we know is being impacted by the conflict. And he mentioned how now is the time to be bold to kind of attract these visitors to Guam using the airline incentives. What was your conversation like with him regarding this?
So interestingly enough, I have a monthly meeting with the governor and lieutenant governor, and that happened on Monday. So I was able to kind of brief them about this situation, and he shared his insights with me. They both did. But in terms of our meeting yesterday, I totally agree with the lieutenant governor. This is a huge opportunity for Guam. There are visitors who have made travel plans to places like Dubai, places like Oman, and they can't get there now. And so they're thinking in terms of some of these long haul flights, they might be shifting their focus and looking more intently at short haul destinations like Guam. We are only about 3.5 to maybe 5 hours at the most away from many of our key source markets. And so this is a huge opportunity for us to kind of double down on that, to make sure that we continue to celebrate the idea that Guam is a very safe destination. It's clean, it's, there's so many different things that we have to offer. And this is also where our community can step in and say that, we're all understanding what the situation is, and we're committed as a community, both our government, our industry partners in the private sector, but every single person on the island of Guam is committed to keep Guam clean, keep their eyes and ears open, and make sure that our crime is very low. It is a safe destination, not just for visitors, but for our residents as well. And so I think that we all have a role to play in this response, and so I'm really glad that the Lieutenant Governor brought that up yesterday.
Right, and just getting into this conversation of the airline incentives, I know you mentioned that GV, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but GVB already committed about $2 million of the airline incentives that you guys received from the legislature that was appropriated, but you guys still need $7 million to offset this impact. Now, is this just to clarify, is this just regarding the Middle East conflict?
So for the Middle East conflict, we've decided to reprogram some of the airline incentive money. We asked for $11.1 million in incentives for fiscal year 26, and we were given 10. So as part of that 10 million, we're reprogramming some of that to address this immediate crisis today. And so, as you mentioned, that's a $2 million kind of price tag that we're looking at doing some programming in our main source market of Korea and a couple of other markets, as we're getting intelligence from those markets and really seeing how the impact is affecting each of those very differently. And so our plan is kind of, to address each of those key markets and make sure that we are deploying those resources effectively. Every single dollar, again, is tied to, it's performance-based. We want to make sure that we are doing what we can and deploying those resources effectively. But as you mentioned, we've really only kind of committed $2 million. If we wanted to deploy it on a full scale, it would cost much more. But that's something that we're going to have to work with the members of the legislature and the administration on to figure out where we go from here.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that's easy, especially because no one really anticipated this this fuel shock, as you mentioned, coming and hitting us, and it's already been difficult for you guys to kind of work on this tourism recovery with, for example, like the U.S. dollar being so strong against the won and the yen. How are you guys navigating this, working with this fuel shock?
Yeah, so one of the messages that we sent to the membership yesterday in our meeting was just that Guam is not immune to these challenges, but we have experience in this. We know what to do when these crises arise. We have been through a global pandemic. We've been through many typhoons before. We've weathered many of these types of storms. And it's really in the way that we approach it. We can't control the storm, but we can control how we manage it, how we work together to move ourselves forward. And so it's really gonna, like I mentioned, take a whole of community approach, our government, our private sector businesses, and all of our stakeholders coming together to say, we love our island. We want to see ourselves thrive. We have these investments that we've put into the tourism industry. We support over 14,400 jobs in our industry. It's incredibly important. And so for all of those working families that are tied to that, we want to let them know that we do have a plan. We are executing that. And we will continue to keep everybody updated along the way.
Certainly. And one thing about Guam is really about our inaphomalic spirit and our resiliency. So I have no doubt that we will get through this. But we're just going to take a quick short break and we'll be right back after this.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
Only Taco Bell has what it takes to put crispy chicken nuggets inside a Crunchwrap slider. Why? Because what it takes is a Crunchwrap slider, and we 100% invented those. Choose from creamy chipotle or jalapeno honey mustard. The new crispy chicken Crunchwrap slider, a brand new classic, only at Taco Bell.
So GVB has mentioned time and time and again that you guys have a goal of reaching 1 million visitors again for Guam. How has that goal changed, and are you guys still able to reach that with this uncertainty with the global fuel shock?
It's a great question, and yes, we still are shooting for that 1 million visitor goal. But I think that we need to give ourselves some leeway in terms of the timing of that. And like you mentioned, there's all of these different things that we couldn't have predicted, but we're still very optimistic that hopefully this conflict will resolve fairly quickly, but we have a plan. We are able to pivot. We are able to kind of redirect certain resources that we have to address things on the fly. And we appreciate the flexibility that we've been given, both from the administration and from the legislature, to adapt and address these problems as they arise.
Right, and speaking of pivoting and adapting, on the same day that DFS closed operations yesterday, you guys also announced this new Welcome to Wellness initiative that you guys are launching in April, or starting this month, right?
Today,
yeah. Happy April Fools. But how does that impact the changing tourism industry?
So I just want to clarify, the wellness initiative, we actually announced it in January, but yes, today is the first day of our Welcome to Wellness month. We're celebrating so many different aspects of wellness, whether it be in culinary and nutrition, or in movement. Very, very excited about our Coco Race weekend, which includes a kids run, our half marathon, which is sold out, and our Ekiden relay, and then capping off the end of the month with our Tour of Guam annual Guam Cycling Federation big event. And so really capitalizing on and thinking about wellness, right? It's twofold. We're looking at wellness in terms of globally being, in 2027, they're looking at it being a $1.7 trillion industry in terms of wellness tourism. And then when you look locally and in our community, there's so much activity, and there's so much community building that happens around, the running community, the cycling community here on Guam, the jiu-jitsu community, there's, the yoga community. There's so many different opportunities, and really, a lot of energy happening, and we want to invite our visitors to be a part of that. And so I think that Coco represents that in a really strong way, but we really wanted to kind of double down on that and have a whole month where we celebrate all of the ways that Guam can be a premier wellness destination, and kind of, take advantage of all of this momentum, and again, potentially $1.7 trillion in investments being spent in the wellness tourism sector.
Yeah, certainly. I'm truly excited to see how that turns out, because Guam is so beautiful, whether it's our sunsets, our beaches, or our hiking trails. There's so much value to our beautiful scenery.
Right.
But talking about, I guess, on beautification of our island, destination management has been a big thing for GVB as well, and of course our private sector. Lawmakers have passed a, I believe it was Bill 228 by Senator Jesse Lujan, the tax incentive for the private sector to kind of like beautify or fix up their, whether it's their storefronts or landscape. How critical is this to tourism recovery?
Well, we're certainly grateful to our oversight chair, Senator Jesse Lujan, and the members of the Guam legislature that passed this bill. GVB provided testimony in support of it, and I want to just emphasize that every single tool in our toolbox matters. Anytime that we have an opportunity to provide additional incentives for our private sector to spruce up their place, to provide additional tourism infrastructure investments, we want to make sure that we do that. So it's definitely a good thing, but we also have to kind of think of it in terms of scale, right? We really want to be cognizant of the idea that tourism, it's a global, it operates on a really large scale. So while we are able to make these smaller investments here at home, we also need to make sure that we're putting in the work and putting in the investments in all of the different markets to bring people here and to make sure that we have that virtuous cycle.
Freedom, that's a cheap thing. Freedom to ignore this, that's a cheap thing. Sacrificing facial hair to nature and involuntary blood donations, cheap things. No one signs up for an 800-pound bear chase, but if it happens, cheap thing. VIP parking, exfoliating, treating gravity like a suggestion, saying it'll dry. Free-range parenting, forgetting if that's a moose or an elk, all cheap things. Remembering without saying it, couldn't be more of a cheap thing. Sweating your tail off, freezing your tail off, an American saving another American's tail. Cheap things. Making a cheap vehicle for only people with cash like him? Not a cheap thing. Or confusing capability with unaffordability? No, not a cheap thing. Making adventure affordable? Now that's a cheap thing. So we're bringing you more cheap things this year, because cheap things should be everyone's thing.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but your board approved, I believe it was $30 million for your guys' budget. Do you feel like that's enough to, as you mentioned, keep Guam connected?
So it's definitely, we're able to do a lot with a little. When I look back in years past, like for example, in fiscal year 2024, GVB was given a $29 million budget. And so we had tourism economics provide us some research data on what that impact was. And when you look at the $29 million that was given to GVB, primarily from hotel occupancy tax returns, that $29 million turned into over $1.4 billion in economic impact. So every time that you provide resources to GVB, we're able to turn that into additional hotel occupancy tax, additional withholding taxes, additional income taxes, and that fuels our economy. And also, like I mentioned, we're supporting the 14,400 people whose jobs are tied to our industry. And then we're also thinking about ancillary jobs, like in financial services, in media, in telecommunications. And so all of those things work together. And when you invest in tourism, you're able to have that $1.4 billion amount come back into our economy, and then we're able to focus on priority areas like health, like public safety, like education, like our environment, and making that, again, a real virtuous cycle.
Yeah, certainly. And you kind of touched on this earlier, but this legislature is really focusing on performance-based budgeting. What are the challenges for you guys at GVB regarding this, or are there any challenges with this?
I think there are a lot of pros and cons when you think about performance-based budgeting. Thankfully, we at GVB have had for many years an operating and a very productive research department. And so we're able, in terms of key performance indicators, we're able to tell you exactly, again, how much, when you give us $1, how much money that is returned in that investment in terms of economic impact, both direct, indirect spending. And so that in that instance, I think, performance-based budgeting, we're all for it. We're able to provide those numbers easily, and we have been transparent in telling the people of Guam exactly what they get when they invest in the Visitors Bureau and in tourism. But I think on the flip side of that, something else that you need to consider is GVB is given some of these resources, but there's so many outside factors that will impact our performance. So when you're thinking about foreign exchange, when you're thinking about the cost of jet fuel, conflict in Iran, like all of these different things will impact our performance. And so I think if you are able to weigh those factors and have kind of a more measured approach, I think that'll be great.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the senators will bring up the fact that tourism arrival numbers are still below pre-pandemic levels. But how do you guys measure, I guess, the success of what GVB is doing regarding tourism recovery?
So we're always thinking about doing better than we did before, right? So when you look at our previous fiscal year and where we stand today, exactly 1 year ago, when you look at our arrival numbers, we're actually up over 20% of what we were doing last year. And that's a significant double-digit increase. Those numbers are calculated through our electronic declaration forms. So anytime anybody, a visitor, will arrive on Guam, they fill out that little QR code and they say that they're a visitor, we count them in that total arrival number. And so, we really want to continue to do the best work that we can and really focus on those areas, really trying to, again, meet that million mark goal and do what we need to not just meet it, exceed it, and sustain that, those visitor arrivals.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you, before we close out, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that GVB hears from, whether it's from the community or lawmakers, or what you guys see in the media, any misconceptions that you want to dispel?
I wouldn't say misconceptions, but I think that they're just the general understanding of how we are funded and what we are responsible for. GVB has a kind of wide-reaching purview. We're really focusing on making Guam the best place to live, work, and visit. That's a really tall order. And so when we have issues in our public parks, for example, I'm, primarily the one that will get a phone call on the weekend that, there's trash at the park, or, there's, a member of our community that's homeless on the beach. So different things like that. And just, really trying to measure what GVB's responsibilities are, focusing on that, kind of making sure that we're meddling in our sport and we're, focused on arrivals, but at the same time, the entire island, is our destination, was what we're supposed to be managing. And so we want to make sure that our areas of points of interest in the southern part of Guam are being maintained, and that they're safe, and that we have visitor safety officers out there in the community making sure that it's safe for visitors but also for our residents. So there's so much that is woven into the work that we do. I think that's a huge misconception, that we're just out there taking vacations, and it's a really difficult job. It's incredibly dynamic, our industry. There's a lot of moving pieces. There are a lot of people that help to make sure that we're successful. And so we really want to thank them for that, but also so much to learn. We invite them to visit GuamVisitorsBureau.com, dive into some of our research and our reporting. And just happy to continue to share our story and encourage people to be ambassadors of Guam and encourage folks to come and visit us.
Certainly, and it's really going to take that community effort, as you said. And thank you to you and your team for doing what you guys do day in, day out. honestly, during these unprecedented times with the global fuel shock.
No, it's a huge challenge, but I can speak for my entire team. We love this island. It's our home, and that's why we're so motivated to continue to come to work every day to do a good job and make sure that we are providing the best service we can.
Yeah, and we'll continue to, of course, keep our eye on the global fuel prices and tourism recovery. For now, I'm Atsuki Hirayama with Regine Viscoli from GBB. Thank you so much for watching the interview. Good night.
This program lineup is brought